Hey, my name's Zach and I make indie pop music under the name Fanski. Welcome to my new series where we take a deep dive into one of the songs off Help Selfing, my new record set to release on August 2nd. Let's get started.
But every time I hear your voice, I feel the world take pause. And every time I look into your eyes, I see my ghost.
So starting June 14th, every Friday, I'm going to release one song off of Help Selfing, culminating in the full release on August 2nd. Each of those singles will be accompanied by a video like the one you're watching today, going into more detail about the background of the song. If at any time you want to just jump the line and buy the record, you can actually do that. Just go to my Bandcamp, which I'll have linked below, and you can purchase it. To anyone who does decide to buy the record, I just want to say thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate any amount of time that you're willing to give me on this project. It all means a lot, and I greatly appreciate your contribution to this project of mine. If that's not really an option for you, no worries at all. Every Friday you'll have something to look forward to, and all of the singles will be on all streaming platforms, so you can find them there too. If you haven't already, make sure you follow me on any social media that you try not to use. And I think that's it, so let's get started. Hey, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about Fake Italian Place. Fake Italian Place is a love song. And when I was first thinking about this project, all these videos together, this one made me the most nervous, primarily because in order for me to explain what's happening in this song, I have to be more vulnerable and open to explaining it than I do with any of the other topics of any of the other songs. I knew that was going to be a challenge, but this record is different than records past, and I think it's just worth talking about, even if it makes me a little uncomfortable. So here we go. Fake Italian Place is a love song, like I said. It's a love song from me to my wife, Kayla. We've been together since we were 19, so we've known each other for a long time. I really think of this song as almost two different songs. The first being how it was originally conceived on classical guitar and voice. That version is just beautiful, and I'll show you that in the demo. But I really wanted this record to be much more polished and much more produced. Almost all of that guitar work just cluttered up anything I was trying to do with the produced version to a point where it was just not usable. So while the form and the melody and a lot of the aspects remain consistent between the two, the beautiful guitar work in the classical just didn't work. You'll hear that in the demo. I hope you enjoy it. I still am kind of toying with the idea of releasing a Help Selfing record that's completely just vocals and acoustic and classical guitar, like how they were built. But I've got a lot more work to do on these videos first, so we'll do one thing at a time. Form-wise, this song is pretty simple. We got a verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and then what I kind of call a chorus part 2, verse, pre-chorus, chorus part 2, and then the chorus part 2 is extended to an outro. I was definitely very inspired by two of my favorite bands, one being Future Islands and the other being Wild Beasts. Future Islands is an awesome kind of synth pop band. Their song forms are very effective. I took a lot of inspiration from a lot of their work on this one in particular, and I think if you know that band, that'll make a lot of sense. Wild Beasts is a British indie rock band. They have always been a heavy influence of mine, primarily with their lead singer's voice. So now I want to play you a little section of one of the early demos of this song.
Remember the time when we made our heart, sleeping on a twin-size mattress in a fake Italian place. Trace my fingers up and down your spine. You turn right around to kiss me, and the room began to spin. I still thought that I could tell where you began and I ended. But every time I hear your voice, I feel the world take pause.
And every time I look into your eyes, I see my ghost. These memories may feel like a stone thrown into the river, but they remain under the surface, ever to be found, though worn down, though worn down. Lyrically, this is where it gets fun. So, Fake Italian Place, what is that? Kayla and I met at our university, whose architecture was very heavily influenced by Italian villas and things like that. It's very beautiful, but we're not in Italy, we're in Kentucky. It's not quite Olive Garden, I would not say that. I'm not an architect, but I would say it's well built. But it's definitely fake. You know, it's a fake Italian place. That's where the namesake comes from. So we're just going to go through the first verse, pre-chorus and chorus, and I'm just going to kind of talk about those. Remember the time when we made our heart sleeping on a twin-size mattress in a fake Italian place. Traced my fingers up and down your spine, you turned right around to kiss me, and the room began to spin. This is a pretty on-the-nose verse. The first time that I actually ever told Kayla that I loved her was by tracing the letters I love you on her back. That's a very tender moment, and we like to kind of relive that from time to time. It was obviously very sweet. So I just needed to put that in the song as the first thing that opens up. It's a love song. It's the first page in the book of our relationship, and so it's just important to be there. I still thought that I could tell where you began and I ended. In long-term relationships, a lot of times, while it's very important to continue to be two different people, right? Two different individuals, when you spend a lot of time with that significant other of yours, there's a middle ground that kind of becomes a little fuzzy. You don't quite know what's you or what's them or what you are together. That's kind of what I'm talking about with this pre-chorus, is that I still thought I could tell where you began and I ended. I can't anymore. But every time I hear your voice, I feel the world take pause. The world stops when I'm with you. Every time I look into your eyes, I see my ghost. This is kind of talking about how women tend to live longer than men. This is kind of talking about that, is that she most likely will outlive me, and I kind of see that. Maybe a morbid topic. I don't tend to think so. I don't know what I think about it, but it's just a note, I suppose. These memories may feel like a stone thrown into the river, but they remain under the surface, ever to be found, though worn down. So this is just symbolism. You know, imagine that an event that happens is a rock, and we toss it into the river of time as a memory. An experience happens, you toss it into the river. If you were to go fetch that rock tomorrow, it would look a lot like what you saw the day before. You would see all the ridges, you would see everything. It would be more clear. Let's say you find that same rock at the bottom of the river years later. It's worn down, it's been eroded. And that's kind of how memories are, right? There are certain features that will always be there that you'll remember forever, but a lot of it gets cloudy, a lot of it gets smoothed over with time. That's how I experience memories. There's lots of things I forget, probably aren't necessary things, but things do get forgotten, right? That's kind of what this is about. It's just taking note of the fact that, you know, these memories are beautiful. Like, I love to relive them in songs like this. Just making mention of the fact that they're still there, they're just worn down with time. All right, so those are the lyrics. Hey, so I've got the Ableton session pulled up. We're just going to walk through three of my favorite parts. First up, the pre-chorus. I'm just going to play that so we have a little reference.
I still thought that I could tell when you began and I ended.
This song is similar to Away from the Sun in that there was no drum set recorded for this. It's all electronic kit and samples. So we've really only got three main parts. We've got the electronic kit, we've got a little bit of pad work in the background, and the bass. So drums by themselves sound like this. Honestly, on listening back to that, it really reminds me of Tame Impala, especially something maybe off Currents with that little tag. The pads underneath just end up sounding like this. And there is that kind of sneaky little cymbal swell that I probably should have looked at in more detail. That's kind of floating around in the background there. This is what that sounds like, just soloed. Kind of cool little thing. And then you have the bass. Bass is once again just laying down eighth notes. Kind of neat. So you layer my vocals on top of that, which are just really drenched in reverb. It ends up sounding like this.
I still thought that I could tell when you began and I ended. But every time I hear.
And now we're into the chorus. And you can already kind of tell probably where this is going. We've got similar elements to the pre-chorus, but a little bit more interesting. So drum kit wise, we have something that sounds like this. The backbone of this group does seem to be this loop. But then that is supported by a multitude of other electronic drum features. Just a very floaty groove. Puts you right there, right? And then the bass on top of that. Sounds like the bass has some chorus on it as well. So one of the cooler elements of the chorus is the background pad that's happening. It's kind of going bop, bop. It's a rhythmic pad. And let me show you how I did that. So this was definitely done on my Juno, but then you can see here I'm automating a LFO that's triggering a octave up granular delay, and that's widened by 200% and going through the Brower Motion plugin that I like to use when I'm trying to make some cool effects. And this is what that sounds like soloed. So I really liked that, but I felt like it needed to be EQ'd a little bit better to fit. So instead of doing that on that track itself, I bounced that and put that on this separate track right here. That coupled with the bass and the kit ends up sounding like this. And later on, there's a little bit of some piano to kind of help the melody. But then you got the vocals. Vocals by themselves sound like this.
But every time I hear your voice, I feel the world take pause. And every time I look into your eyes, I see my ghost.
Obviously drenched in a lot of reverb. I really wanted that space to be there. So collectively, once again, we have this.
But every time I hear your voice, I feel the world take pause. And every time I look into your eyes, I see my ghost. These memories may feel like a stone thrown into the.
So part 2 of the chorus also has some really interesting synth stuff going on. Together with the kit. Still syncopated, but kind of warping in and out of tune to kind of give it that kind of floaty feel. And this is when you have that vocal call and response kind of ha ha coming in. Those sound like this. I always like that flip between my head voice and my typical range. That kind of. If you hit it just right, you get a nice little flip. That's just really nice. I've always thought that sounded really neat. That's definitely a wild beastie kind of thing. So all together, what that sounds like is this. And so the last thing I want to show you is the outro. So the outro is what we just heard, except extended, and the bass line kind of drops. I also got Kayla to sing on this. Kayla is not a traditional singer. She's just kind of learned from, singing in our house, just with me, just for fun. She's done some karaoke stuff for fun. So I had her record. It just adds like a very nice layer, you can kind of tell. And I like the idea that this is potentially could be a duet of a sort. So this is what that sounds like, just a cappella. It's almost kind of drunk sounding. It doesn't sound clean. I would say that's intentional. I just wanted to make it sound like a bunch of people singing this kind of already kind of strange motif. So the bass line drops, like I said. There's like a nice little ba 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 with the kit. So there's also like a little melody that do 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 that I echo with my vocals. The kit gets a little thicker as well. So the kit exclusively sounds like this. Put the bass on top of that. I forgot about those little boop boop boo boo doo doo doo. And it's obviously kind of blown out a little bit, definitely have some fuzz on it. So collectively with everything on it, It is quite a bit different than that demo. It really just feels like a different song, but this version of it, I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's really a nice piece. I'm really proud of this one. So in conclusion, yeah, this song, it's got some feels. It makes me feel loved, you know, it makes me feel happy. It makes me relive past moments. And this song has been there for me in more difficult times. I can play it to myself and it just gives me meaning, you know. It gives me more than just stuff could ever. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like what you hear, you know, you can purchase the record on my Bandcamp, or you can listen to all of the songs that have been coming out every week on any streaming platform that you might listen to. Make sure you follow me on any social media that you use. And once again, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. And have a wonderful weekend.